which actually caused this particular hearing. So maybe I'd like to take advantage of the presence of the DBP officers to clarify these issues. Allegations of illegal writing off, allegations of condonation of huge sums of money. In fact, one of the items that I read in the media, all of this amount to something like 1.6 billion pesos. So it's indeed alarming. So even if transactions were done 20 years ago, because of the huge amount being claimed to have been defraud of the Philippine government, I believe that it should have been taken up. So at this point, I'd like to clear the matter with the DBP officials. Is the SPV a legal way of financial transactions within the government and funding institutions? Or is it a one-time administration policy which may have been used to defraud the government? Is it a law that was passed then and still a law in existence?
It was passed in 2002, Mr. Chair, and in fact, there's an effort to somehow reenact the same law under the FIST, or the Financial Institutions Strategic Transfer Act.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
To be specific about it now, all of this emanated from the Lopez appearances here on the issue of the ABS-CBN, and where I used the word browbeating, and sad to say, members of the committee of investigating the matter even removed the word browbeating. I will use the word that again, Mr. Chairman. The witnesses then were browbeaten. They were not allowed to explain fully the answers that were being asked of the questions. So I'm asking the same question now. Meron po bang nilabag na batas dun sa sinasabing fund sale of ABS corporations and the Ben Press Corporation, Maynilad, at meron po bang ganansyang nakuha mga Lopez doon in that transaction?
On the first question, Mr. Chair, what I can say is that it was audited by the Commission on Audit, and in the annual audit report, there was no finding of irregularity. On the second issue, Mr. Chair, as soon as the accounts were transferred to the SPV, DBP no longer had any transaction, or at least with respect to those 4 loan accounts, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, would the lady claim that the DBP lost money in the exercise of the SPV procedures?
Attorney, can you answer?
Mr. Chair, if I may explain, the context of the law and the situation then was that these were non-performing assets already. So, in the sense that they were non-performing already, parang you expect that loss would really be incurred. With respect to the total bulk sale transferred to PI1 and PI2, the outstanding principal balance then was 9.55 billion. And it was sold to Lehman Brothers and subsequently transferred to PI1 and PI2 in the amount of 3.88 billion. But that pertains to all the accounts transferred under the bulk
Sa
sale.
madaling salita, Mr. Chairman, ang sinasabi nila, yung transaction ay covered by the provisions of the law. Am I correct to understand it that way?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And may I ask if the Lopez's gained from this exchange of papers? Sila po ba ay kumita in the sense na na-condone po ba yung utang? Nabawasan po ba yung utang? Nabura po ba yung utang? Ano po ba nangyari nung binili ng Lehman Brothers yung kanilang papeles galing sa DBP?
We would no longer know, Mr. Chair, how much or what were the negotiations between TI1 and TI2 on one hand and the Lopez companies on the other hand. Because at the time, the SPVs, meaning TI1 and TI2, stepped into the shoes of DBP as the lender, Mr. Chair.
Ang pagkaalam ko doon sa batas ng SPV at kinatigan naman ng Commission on Audit pagkat sinang-ayunan nila ang transaction. Madaling salita, everything was done in accordance with law. Second, the Lopez companies did not make any money simply because they have not been absolved in any way by the transfer of papers. Magbabayad pa rin sila, I'm sure nagbayad sila, dahil kung hindi sila nagbayad, mapipinalize sila ng bumili. Magbabayad sila rin sa bumili. Hindi po naman condonation yung SPV. To clarify the issue, it is not a condonation, it is not a writing off, it is a purchase of papers of debt, indebtedness, from one corporation, Philippine corporation, bought by an international funding institutions, like in this case, Lehman Brothers, correct? Am I correct to say that?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Pero yung utang ay utang pa rin. At yung utang, we are presuming, binayaran ng mga Lopez sa Lehman Brothers, hindi na sa DBP. Ibinenta ng DBP yung utang para ang magbabayad na, ang babayaran na ay yung bumili. I'm sure they bought it at a discount, but since the COA did not find anything irregular, so meaning it was done in accordance with the law. So at this point in time, Mr. Chairman, I am now speaking as an officer of the 18th Congress. Kung ang mga nag-a-allege ay based on their own conjecture and they have nothing to prove, bring to this committee and bring to this Congress, I would suggest that they should be required produce your papers of irregularity for this committee to continue deliberating on it and for the plenary to even take whatever comes out of this committee. Otherwise, if you're asking the DBP to produce papers which will be detrimental to them, I think that is a dream, a vision that is unfair, to say the least. We're asking them to penalize themselves. Kung meron tayong prueba, ituloy natin. Kung wala po naman tayong prueba, huwag naman natin aksayin ang panahon ng Kongreso sa mga allegation na wala naman dokumento. I can claim Marcos did this, Marcos did this, that. But if I did not keep documents to prove the allegations that I'm making now, hindi po mananalo yung aking allegation. Ganun kasimple. Pero alam ko maraming masamang ginawa si Mr. Marcos. Alam ko maraming pagnanakaw na ginawa sila. Pero wala po tayong dokumento, eh mahirap natin balikan ang panahon 20, 30, 40 years ago. At this point in time, I rest my case, having elicited from the DBP officers, there is nothing irregular in the exercise of the SPV, and the seller or the owner of the document do not make money in the transaction. Kung merong gumagawa ng pera dito, yung bumibili. Now, rightfully, because they have the capital, and that's their business, to make money out of financial transaction. Pero ang DBP, hindi rin naging kumita rito dahil ang nangyari, binenta nila yung pagkakautang sa kanila. Sinalo naman ng mas mayamang financing institution. Iikot lang tayo ng iikot at hanap tayo ng dokumento. It's unfair to demand from the DBP even to produce documents 18, 20 years ago. And the intention is to embarrass you and put you in deeper hot waters. It's even unfair. If there is any member of Congress today who is in possession of documents to prove that there was a wrongdoing and some people made money out of it, then maybe we should proceed. Otherwise, I will move for termination of all of this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, noted, Honorable Chensa. Yes, you are recognized, Honorable Defensor.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, maraming salamat po. Una po muna pagbati sa aking kasama kay kagalang-galang Deputy Speaker Atienza. Pero kanina naman po nung kami nagtanong, malinaw yung pag-uusap. Sa dokumento ng DBP, sa dokumento ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, dalawang ahensya po yung magkaiba. Walang certificate of eligibility yung pagkakapasok ng mga loans. Magmula sa DBP, BSP, bago sila pinasok sa Special Purpose Vehicle. Walang certificate of eligibility. Ang sinasabi po ng DBP, ang kanilang pananaw legal. Dahil kahit walang certificate of eligibility, pwede. Ang pananaw ko po, at ito naman binanggit din ng BSP, hindi pwede. Pangalawa, Mr. Chairman, makikita sa loan documents ng DBP. Hindi na po yung loan documents, yun na lang po sa minutes. Na dalawa dyan, o isa, sa mga loans na yan na ibinigay bago pa ipasok sa SPAB, ang walang collateral. Yan po yung may dokumento, nandyan sa minutes ng Development Bank of the Philippines. Pinag-aralan po yan ng legal bago ipinasok. At makikita po dyan. And if I may ask Attorney Adjong, di po ba dapat nagkaroon ng joint security, that before the issuance of the DBP loan to Maynilad, there should have been a waiver under the JSS. Tama po ba?
Honorable Attorney, you may reply.
May I seek clarification on the document?
Joint and solitary signature for Maynilad.
I have not seen the document, Mr. Chair, but as part of our commitment, we will go into the
Yes.
record.
Maybe, Mr. Chairman, we can ask Mr. Orbosa, our president of DBP, who is here with us right now. If Mr. Chairman,
Can we go to your second round?
no, Mr. Chairman, it was a point of privilege because the Honorable Deputy Speaker Chense, with all due respect, tama naman po yung sinabi ni Honorable Chense. Kung tayo po dito yung nagwi-witch hunt, huwag natin ituloy. At nakakaya naman sa DBP at sa Lopez Group. Pero kung mayroon naman pong dokumento at may kakulangan sa dokumento, dapat po natin pag-usapan. Tama po yung sinabi ni Honorable Chense. Tinanong po niya kanina, nagkaroon pa ng benepisyo ang mga Lopezes. Tama ba, Atty. Adjong? From 9 billion, naging 3 billion na lang ang babayaran nila.
The 9 point,
Total yan,
Yes.
the total for all
So if I put it in
2,000 companies.
I agree. So if we put it at 70%, at 1.6 billion, ang biniraran po na lang nila siguro is somewhere in the vicinity of 500 million. Kung i-across the board po natin, yung naging discount. Kasi across the board po yan nung pumasok sa SPAB. Saan yung sulat?
Mr. Chair, with respect to these accounts, I believe
No,
there-
Attorney Jong, the question is simple. Marami kayong accounts. Ginawa niyo 10 billion. Binenta niyo ng 3 billion. Sinlasyo ng 70% ang lahat ng utang. Tama po ba?
the recovery under the bulk sale was around 42%.
So 42%. So 60% discount. So there was a gain. Kung ang dati kang utang, 100 piso, naging 60 pesos na lang. 40 pesos na lang.
But that's on the transfer to the...
I agree, Attorney Adjong. All I'm saying is, ang original utang sa inyo, 100 pesos. Ang kinita ninyo, 40 pesos na lang. Tama po ba?
On the bulk, Mr. Chair, but there was a specific price allocation.
Attorney Adjong, please do not confuse yourself. Yung 100 piso dapat kinolekta nyo yun Pera nyo yun. Tama po?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, binenta nyo na lang ng 40 pesos. Tama po?
On the total bulk sale.
Yes, total bank sale. So lahat na nagkautang, nagka-discount na 60%. Yung umutang mismo, well, assume na natin na yung one company had 100 pesos, binenta de 60% discount siya. Tama po ba?
But that's the discount on the PI transfer to the SP.
Exactly.
Mr. Chair.
Exactly. So, what I'm saying, Mr. Chair, is this. Value judgment po yun. Hindi ko sinasabing illegal yun. Kasi lahat naman ng bangko dumaan po sa SPAB. Ang point ko lang, yung tinanong ko kanina about the collateral, bago pa pumasok na SPAB yan, walang collateral yan. Kaya wala din kayo makukolekta in the first place. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.